All right, it's good to have you join us this lovely afternoon. My name is Michael Olatunbosun. The program is Talking Points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. Welcome to the program. And today is our Awaken the Citizen segment. You know the deal, at this moment. Basically, the Awaken the Citizen segment is to rouse you from, the inertia that you have in town. You understand that citizens are instrumental to democracy. As a matter of fact, when you talk about democracy, it's not complete without the citizens' participation. I think it's Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution as amended that says that the government derives its validity or validation from the people. So in other words, without the people, there won't be government. So you understand the whole essence of this deal that we have on the table on Talking Points on Splash FM here today, the 13th day in April 2021. My name is Michael Olatunbosun. We've got something on the table. We're looking at the Oyo State 2021 budget implementation and the State Fiscal Transparency and Accountability and Sustainability disbursements, if you like. It's called SFTAS. And essentially, it is to get all of us to look into the books of the state government. We've always been focusing, we're used to focusing on the government at the center. So when budgets are, released or made, it becomes a topic for conversation around town. When ministers are going to be appointed, we have conversations around their qualifications and quality. We also talk about where they're from. We usually refer to this section of the Constitution that talks about the national federal character and the like. So the quota system, the religious leanings of the appointees, etc., become issues. But you see, accountability becomes relegated, and when there is opacity in the way the government is run or in the way the people who run the government, you understand that a lot of things will go missing. So the whole essence of today's conversation is to get us to reason. Maybe if you like to use the word that comes to my mind, it has to do with beaming a searchlight on government and governance. Olusegun Elemo is here. Olusegun, welcome to Talking Points today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon to all our listeners. It's good to be back today, being the 4th month in the year. And we hope that your year is going on well, and you're set to ride on with us on this, the edition of the Awaken the Citizens again.
Olusegun Elemo is the Executive Director of Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative. Okay, so let's start from here. I know that the Oyo State budget, had been presented and signed, and I remember that the focus of the government had been on, generation of revenue. The government projected that about 108 billion or so of the budget will be, sourced from IGR. I remember that the governor was also saying that, basically by the presentation of the governor during this budget speech, it was about jacking the IGR from that about 2.8 billion to about 8 billion to fund the budget. And, the government also focused on health, education, and infrastructure. I remember that he said that his government would rehabilitate, if you like, or refurbish primary health care centers across the state, and will also equip them. As a matter of fact, the governor indicated that some equipment were on the way, and he also talked about making education work for us in the state. Those are the kernel, basically of the budget. And I basically like to tell you something about this budget. It also, I think, education and health and infrastructure were also top in terms of in pecking order of allocations. But you see, it's one thing for the government or governors to allocate, resources to certain items in the budget. It is another to implement these items. I remember that when the governor presented the 2020 budget, he talked about 50% implementation. And this one, the 2021 budget, it targets 70% implementation. But you see, implementation is one leg, disbursement is another leg, and commitment is another leg. So you have a tripod. Yep. How is this tripod balancing? So Segun Elemo is an accountability and transparency person in the civil society sector. Tell me, what do you know about the Oyo State government in terms of openness, if you like?
Okay, thank you, Michael, for that question. I think it's important to let our listener know that the budget is a policy document, and that public policy, is simply about what government chooses to do or not to do.
Okay.
In this case, referring to the budget of the Oyo State, shows what government plans to do in 2021.
Okay.
And in breaking that down, recall that the budget was actually, estimated to be around 268 billion naira,
yes,
thereabout. I think about more than 100, about 130 billion or thereabout, if I get my figures right, is going to capital. Mm-hmm. And a little below that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think about 1.7, I think a little bit above that, 137 billion is going to recurrent.
Yeah.
But the question now is, like you mentioned, the implementation of budget in Oyo State. Mm-hmm. There are different sides to budget. There is, of course, basically there are two sides to a budget. You have the expenditure framework. You have the revenue streams of government. Without the revenue flowing in, there can't be expenditure. How does Oyo State government generate revenue? It generates revenue via, statutory allocations from the center. Mm-hmm. It generates revenue through, local IGR that, it's also, put up. But when you look at what Oyo State generated in terms of IGR in 2020, it will amaze you, because sometimes I think it was this present governor who had said at the time that the immediate past governor, the budget he presented to the State Assembly in 2019 was outrageous.
Yeah, so they had to
and he had to actually trim it down.
Exactly.
But you now see a situation where the governor who was trimming down the budget in 2019 now became very ambitious in 2020 and 2021, because if you say you want to spend 268 billion in 2021, and your IGR in 2020 half year IGR, half year report for IGR in 2020 is less than 20 billion. And you claim you want to spend 268 billion in the following year, then it goes to question, where do you plan to generate this revenue from? Now, when you break down, because a half-year report for IGR, Oyo State, is about 17 billion in 2020.
But you see, the story here is that the newspapers reported that the state performed, this government particularly, increased the state's IGR. There was this story I saw about 17%,
Yes,
increase.
It may have increased IGR, which is true. There was increase in IGR. But is the increase sufficient enough to fund the budget that you are proposing? It's another thing entirely.
Okay.
Now, recall that, and now, so I was talking about the IGR that the government generated in 2020. The half-year report in 2020 said the government generated about 17 billion. Of that 17 billion, you would realize that the MDAs alone, when it comes to revenue, people working in government, what they generate as revenue to government, it was not up to 8% of that 17 billion. I think all the rest was mainly taxes, corporate income tax, pay as you earn, and I think pay as you earn contributed about 39%.
Well, most certainly.
Do you understand? But what is pay as you earn? Is what government is paying now. What people are paying back to government.
Okay.
So in terms of value in Oyo State, how much value is going on? How much value is being exported from the state? How much inflow are we getting externally? Because you can say that maybe company income tax, if a large chunk of that 17 billion is company income tax, you can say that companies are contributing to the IGR in the state. But what is the environment for business like in Oyo State to attract the level of investment that can grow company income, corporate income tax? I think those are the issues that we must begin to look at.
All right.
And again, is that let's now narrow down to the implementation of the budget itself. I think one of the things, and you had asked me about the transparency and accountability mechanism in Oyo State. I think it was the state governor that recently also set up and domesticated EFCC, anti-corruption body. Agency. But why has it been difficult for the government to domesticate the Freedom of Information Act?
Okay. Well,
I think these are some of the issues. Okay. And see, when you are measuring, transparency and accountability, because like I always say, and we've always said on this platform, that it is the level of transparency that will determine how much citizens engage with the processes of government.
All right. Still talking points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. I have more like an infographic here. Oyo State Ministry of Finance 2021 strategic goals, and they have listed 6 items here. I'd like to just read them out for you. The first is fiscal sustainability, and their target is to achieve 100% growth in the state's IGR. So in other words, a target of 8 billion naira per month, is possible, right?
It is, it is possible. Everything is possible.
Okay, so let me come to the second item here, which has to do with what we are doing today. It says transparency and accountability. Yeah. Achieve active citizens engagement in governance. We've always talked about open government and open government partnership.
Yep.
I remember that various actors in the area, we've discussed the state's compliance in terms of open government and the rest of it. How open is this government in terms of making records and papers available to the citizens?
Very simple. I'll just say a few things, and citizens can then make their own independent assessment and conclusions. We sent a letter to the state government on the disbursement from the World Bank. I think the letter went out sometime last month. I think early last month, thereabout. To the Accountant General, to the Commissioner of Finance, and I think there was one other person that was copied in that letter, to furnish us with details of, SIFTA's disbursement to Oyo State in particular, and what that disbursement. Remember that SIFTA's program, is a program run by the World Bank, and it's between 2018 to 2022 thereabout. And several states in Nigeria, get grants from the World Bank based on the accountability and transparency mechanisms that they put in place within their states. And states can actually get as much as $16 million. And a little bit above $16 million. We sent a letter to Oyo State Commissioner of Finance and the Accountant General. I think there was one other person copied in that letter, to furnish us with what has accrued to Oyo State between 2018 and now in terms of SIFTA's disbursement.
Okay.
And what that disbursement has been utilized for. Whether it has been infused into the organic budget of the state or whether it was utilized for special intervention projects. I can categorically tell you that till now that I'm speaking, no communication from the Commissioner of Finance, no communication from the Accountant General of the state, as well as the other person copied in that letter.
So basically, I have this correspondence before me. Yeah. And, you mentioned the other person who happens to be the Commissioner for Budget and Planning.
Exactly.
So these are, instrumental to, the paperwork of the state.
Exactly.
In terms of how much goes in, how much goes out,
exactly,
and how much is, expended on projects in the state.
Exactly.
But you see, maybe they have the reply and you've not seen it.
So I mean, those are the parameters by which you measure how transparent a government is. And you just read what is
the strategic goal?
The strategic goal by the Ministry for 2021. It talked about fiscal sustainability.
Yes.
It talks about that improves citizens' engagement with the process of government.
It talks about. Let me just read the other items. It talked about financial sustainability.
Okay.
Says that the government would like to maintain an average monthly debt service of about 30%.
Yeah.
And then the fourth in this strategic goal says that alternative infrastructure funding, which they are doing very well around.
No. There's no question about that.
Wow.
There's no question about that.
And then process optimization. It says full automation of the state payment process to enhance value for money.
I could see some line items in the budget that speaks to that as well.
So speaking items in the budget speaking to that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw in the budget that the Ministry of Finance is procuring several infrastructure.
And then the concomitant realization in terms of access.
But it is beyond that. You see, when you talk about value for money, for instance, okay, how do you explain a state government awarding a contract? Because we're talking about value for money now. How do you explain a state government awarding a contract and inflating it by over 1,000%?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's clear. It was this recently that the state government said it wanted to provide, exercise books to pupils in secondary schools. And he said he wanted to provide 60 leaves. And you are procuring a little bit above 200,000 copies of 60 leaves exercise book. You say it's customized. I don't know what that means, really. Now, you are procuring that for 430-something million naira. When in actual fact, the market value is just a little bit below 40 million.
You've not seen the quality of this exercise book,
what could possibly be the quality of that exercise book?
Oh, glossy papers.
It is the same thing you get in the open market. It's the same thing. There's no extra quality, except for the fact that maybe the Oyo State logo is printed on the cover page.
You've not seen, glossy.
There is nothing glossy that you want to get from the state government. I mean, it's still the same. Where would the government get the raw materials to print the books from? Is it not the same open market? Who are the printers that will print it? Is it not the same people that are in the open market? See, when you're talking about value for money, you must be able to bring all these things to bear in how you spend public resources.
We will come back to this item that you're talking about.
That's fine.
I want to go back to this strategic goal. It's very important for me. The fifth here says strategic reforms, and they're talking about achieving 25% increase in SIFTA's grant and attain 75% of NCARE's target.
Which we know, we have for a fact, that has happened. And we are requesting information to that effect. And the state government has refused to oblige us and provide that information.
But they've told us that they have done it. Isn't that enough?
Well, it is not enough to say you have done it. It is to say, bring out the evidence. If citizens are asking to say that how much has the government collected from World Bank? Okay, now we know for a fact that the government in the last disbursement got $6.8 million. When you convert $6.8 million to Naira using the prevailing market exchange rate, that's about 3.2 billion naira. Of that 3.2 billion naira, what did you do with it? Did you put it into the 2021 budget? Are you using it for special intervention? What are those special intervention projects? Where are those projects located? What is the implementation status of those projects? Who are the contractors? I mean, those are basic things to know. And say, let me tell you something. When you said, how open is Oyo State government? Now, if Sokoto State, for instance, is able to meet direct link indicators of the World Bank grant and is getting, in the last disbursement, got as much as $15 million. Got as much as $15 million. And Oyo State struggled to get $6.8 million. It shows you that the state is not as open as Sokoto State. It's very simple. Because the parameters for the World Bank grant is the same OGP parameters. It's the same OGP. How much of accountability are you publishing your budget? Did you publish this budget? Are you publishing audit reports? Are you, and all of those things? How are you responding to citizens? Those are the things. So we can say now that Oyo State is not as open as Sokoto State. So that gives you the definition of how open Oyo State is.
You said Oyo State is not as open as Sokoto State.
Very clearly.
But Oyo State is open.
You see, you can open a part of your window.
Okay.
Just for a small ray of light to come in. It has opened.
It's because they are open that you've been able to, see this document.
But it is different when you open the whole place, when you throw open the entire curtain, and everybody can see through what is happening within government. I mean, how do you even expect from the strategic document that you just mentioned? You talked about improving citizens' engagement. How do you expect citizens to engage in darkness? Is it possible when there is no information? Then what evidence are they going to use to engage? And when they are engaging with, maybe independently verified information, and then you refuse to respond, then is that openness? Is that transparency?
You're saying refuse to respond, or maybe you are the one who has not been forthcoming.
Because we have not received. Because, see, let me tell you something. It looks as if public service is a rocket science. It's not a rocket science. I mean, we write letters to federal agencies. Our phone numbers are there. Our emails are there. It's not rocket science. Mind you, if you are proactive with disclosing information, we would even need to write you a letter.
Okay. All right. It's still talking points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. I am an advocate of, freedom of information. I know I belong to a network of, freedom of information in the southwest of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we've been, saying that governments across the country should adopt the Freedom of Information Act.
Exactly.
There was this matter, I think it was during the tenure of Fashola in Lagos, where the government insisted that the Freedom of Information Act did not and still does not apply to the states.
But that case had been upturned in Ondo State.
Okay.
By an appeal court judgment.
Okay.
Now the case has now proceeded to the Supreme Court, and we are waiting, final ruling in that regard.
All right. So it's still talking points on Splash FM. Our commercial break, and we'll be back. Please don't go away.
TV tún ti ṣe bẹ́bẹ́ o. Dígbì ni wọ́n wà pẹ̀lú rẹ̀. Jẹ̀gbádùn ẹ̀dínwó ìdá méjìlélọ́gbọ̀n lórí GoTV Max. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o, tí o bá sanwó GoTV jọ̀lí fún ẹgbẹ̀rún méjìlénírínwó àti ọgọ́ta náírà. GoTV ó ṣàó sókè téńté lọ sí GoTV Max pẹ̀lú ìkànnì márùnléláàádọ́rin tàbí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Abracadabra! Wọ́n máa jẹ̀gbádùn àwọn eré oníṣe India lórí Star Live, La Liga, eré bọ́ọ̀lù àfẹsẹ̀gbá, Premier League, àwọn ètò Big Brother Naija lóríṣiríṣi lórí Africa Magic, Nigerian Idol, BET, Cartoon Network àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ̀dínwó tó dáa, ìfowópamọ́ tó bù àyà. Lóòótọ́, GoTV wà pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ digbí. Àwọn oníbàárà GoTV Max láti ọjọ́ kìíní oṣù kẹta ò ní ìpín nínú ìpolongo yìí o. Ìlànà àti àdéhùn wà ṣá o. GoTV nífẹ̀ẹ́ rẹ̀.
Do you know that you have the right to quality broadcasting? The National Broadcasting Commission says any person, group of persons, or organization aggrieved by the content of a broadcast or the conduct of a broadcast station may lodge a complaint to the station and all right to the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, number 20, Ibrahim Taiwo Street, Asokoro, Abuja, or send a mail via info@nbc.gov.ng. Please ensure that your complaint includes name of the broadcast station, title of the program, date and time of broadcast, and essence of the complaint. Also, remember to include your name, address, telephone number, email, and append your signature. Note that your complaint must reach the NBC within 14 days of the queried broadcast. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
Ibadan! 9 Mobile 4G LTE has landed and we are in for the time of our lives. Streaming matches will never be the same. Video calls will be clearer than ever. Work will be so smooth, it won't feel like work. That's smooth.
Yes, Ibadan! Enjoy browsing with quality 4G LTE on 9 mobile data plans. Get 2 GB plus free access to social media for 500 naira, 7 GB plus free access to social media for 1,500 naira, and 3.5 GB free data for night streaming on select monthly data plans of 1,000 naira and above. Dial *200*3*1# to get started. T's and C's apply. 9 Mobile.
mo ní adùn ẹ̀ lékeka ní ó rẹwà tó mọ nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀. má bá mi jiyàn sẹ́.
kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀?
wo ara tuntun tí wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ dá sí ara ohun mímu làkàṣẹ́rà. báyọ̀ sọ wípé ó rẹwà gan. èmi sọ wípé ẹwà ẹ̀ kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀ àti pé adùn ẹ̀ sì tún lékeka. ọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń fàmọ́ra lọ́wọ́ nìyẹn o.
ó yá mo wá kí n wò ó.
àdúró náà kí ló dá o dẹ̀ fẹ́ mú tán.
adùn èso ápùlù tí ò lábùlà, àmì ìdánimọ̀ tuntun, méjèèjì ló ń lu papọ̀. làkàṣẹ́rà ti wá kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀. jẹ̀gbádùn èso ápùlù ohun mímu inú làkàṣẹ́rà, ìgbádùn tí ò lábùlà, adùn rẹ̀ yàtọ̀ gedegbe, àwọ̀ rẹ̀ sì tún fani mọ́ra. jẹ̀gbádùn aláìláfiwé nínú ohun mímu làkàṣẹ́rà. ó yàtọ̀, mò ń gbádùn ẹ̀ gan-an ni o.
Life is a mystery which can only be unraveled by the Word of God. And that's why you need to join Pastor Prince Will Afolabi of God's Power Evangelical Mission every Wednesday at 7:45 p.m. on Splash FM 105.5 as we unravel the mystery of life for great impact and success. Join us then. God bless you.
Charles!
Yes, Mommy?
Go and bring 2 sachets of hyper bleach for me.
Why 2?
Because I'm using 1 to soak the whites and using 1 to kill all the germs.
But I can't see any germs here.
They are so tiny you can't see them. But they are there. And that is why I trust only hyper bleach to kill them all.
Make your white fabrics whiter and your household free of illness causing germs and viruses with the disinfecting power of hypo bleach.
We have come to the end of the cooking competition. World famous chef Big Shot will decide the best food.
Wow, he has finished the food. So, who will he crown winner?
And it's a tie, ladies and gentlemen. All the chefs have been declared winners.
Woo!
Ladies, what's your secret?
No matter where you come from or your taste, you can make great meals every time with Onga, the seasoning of Niger. Now made with locally sourced soya for more nutritional benefits.
Onga, Mama's helping hand.
Splash FM 105.5.
All right, it's still talking points on Splash FM here in the city of Ibadan. Let's get talking on this matter. And basically, it is the Awaken the Citizens segment where we pinch the citizens to understand their roles in the democratic mix. I'm talking about accountability for sustainability. In this case, if you cannot demand accountability from those who are in government, then there's a problem, because those who are in government will run the government like they are running their personal businesses. And don't forget that it is a partnership. You understand that? And we stand in the gap, you understand, by the virtue of Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. It says that the media, radio, TV, and all other elements of the mass media have a responsibility to hold those who are in government accountable on your behalf. So that's basically what we are doing today. And you see, the point is that we cannot do it alone. You have to be part of this project. And that's why we have this segment, the Awaken the Citizen segment, to get you into the fray. So we'll ask you to join the conversation any moment from now. By the way, you can just key down the numbers and call me much later. 0809 155 1055, 0805 699 8678, and 07069 493 3000. You can also view the goings on in the studios. If you can just go to Facebook, you can find Splash FM on Facebook, Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan on Facebook, and then you see the site and then you hear the sound. Olusegun Elemo is still with me. He is the executive director Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative. Our focus is the 2021 budget for Oyo State and its implementation, and the SIFTAS element here. So it has to do with how the government is transparent in terms of the fiscal activities, and how sustainable this will be in terms of the disbursements and the rest of it. You see, there's something interesting about budgets. When many of us look at budgets, and it's usually a very cumbersome process, experience to look in the budget. The federal budget for 2021, for instance, about 1,900 and something pages. In fact, the budget for 2020 was about 2,000 plus pages. So it's usually very difficult for the citizens to say, I want to look at what's in the budget. Yeah. Usually a very voluminous and, if you like, a very ambiguous document for many lay people.
Yes.
But you have actors in the civil society space who have taken it upon themselves to help us to simplify the budgets, the procurement process, and all other, paperworks of government. And that's one of those elements that we're bringing to the table, simplifying government's papers and helping us to take a peep, a critical peep, in fact, into these documents. Olusegun Elemo, you have been saying that the Oyo State government has not been very open. It has not been open.
Certainly.
You're also saying that the budget implementation for 2021 has been, hazy. I'd like you to just give me an idea of basically what you're talking about here.
So I think it was you who mentioned earlier that the priority of government for 2021 was going to be infrastructure, education, and health. But when you look at the budget, is that the priority? Because the budget is there for everybody to go and look at it. You see a government that is putting money, to buying perishables. That's just being jovial, not perishable. But when you see all the line items and all you are seeing is buying of motor vehicles, furnishing of houses, providing accommodation. Those are, I don't know whether we are serious about development.
These things are subsumed under what you call overheads, They are normal in governance.
They are, but when your resources, much of your resources in terms of capital spending, when you say something is capital spending, and then you are putting capital spending in procuring motor vehicles, in rehabilitating the governor's house, in furnishing the governor's office. A typical example is in 2020, I think Oyo State government, had approved 3.9 billion to procure vehicles for the office of the governor. 3.9 billion in 2020. In 2021, again now, is also estimated to spend 2.1 billion in procuring vehicles for the office of the governor.
Billion, did you say?
A billion now. And now the question is, if you bought 3.9, I don't know, and that's what we're saying, that government needs to come out with the releases. How of this 3.9 billion that you budgeted, you approved for 2020, how much did you release? How many vehicles did you buy? Where are those vehicles? Now you are proposing to spend again another 2.1 billion in 2021. How much do you plan to release? What kind of vehicles do you want to buy? Is it different from the one you bought in 2020? Those are the things that we need to start checking, and government needs to be accountable in this regard. Because it's not your money. It's public funds. These are taxpayers' money. It's nobody's money. It doesn't belong to any individual. So, and then again, you are spending over 9 billion to buy buses for the office of the governor. 9 billion. This money looks like, but they're not small money. Yes, you can excuse that nothing was budgeted in 2020 for that. But what do you intend to do with 9 billion naira buses?
Okay, so while procuring vehicles for the office of the governor to the tune of 9 billion, and you're taking care of education and all that, should that one?
But if that is the case, it wouldn't have mattered. If you are spending the same huge resources as you are spending to procure vehicles, furnishing houses, and doing all of that, if you are using the same energy, the same fiscal energy to then develop the education sector and then the health sector, it wouldn't have mattered. But when you look at what was budgeted for all the tertiary institutions in Oyo State, I will start mentioning.
Please.
For instance, the this Lautech. Then you have the Polytechnic in Emmanuel Ayode in Oyo, the College of Education. Mm-hmm. Then you have
which has been converted into I think it's the one converted to a university now.
Okay. Right. That's fine. Okay. Then you have the College of Education in Igbora. Mm-hmm. Then you have the College of Education in Lalate. Then you have the Okeogun Polytechnic. Then you also have the Adeseun Ogundoyin Polytechnic in Erua. All of these institutions I mentioned now, do you know how much was budgeted for their development in 2021? Just 258 million naira.
They're supposed to make money.
No, that's the question. Now, if they are supposed to make money, then why are you providing subventions to them?
To help them to
do what?
Put structures and infrastructure.
But what is the state of our tertiary education today? Now, who is oversighting those institutions? How are they utilizing whatever they are generating in that place?
These institutions have consultants, and that it's basically one of the talking points of the crisis in this place.
But you and I know that one of the bane of the crisis we're facing with tertiary education in Nigeria today is the state of infrastructure. Those are some of the issues that ASU has been fighting for, and then you now have ASUP now, still struggling with the government on their own. And then, look at what the crisis we had with Lautech and then it's good that crisis now has been resolved. But look at how long it took both the Oyo State government and the Osun State government to resolve the problem we have with Lautech. What I'm saying in essence is that we cannot be spending so frivolously in buying, motor vehicles, in furnishing houses year on year, when there are other key sectors of the economy. And like I said earlier, what is, Oyo State IGR like? What is the export potential in Oyo State? How much of those potential have we realized? What is the value? Now, I think it was the governor of Edo State just a few days ago, mentioned that the federal government had to print between 50 to 60 billion
yes,
to augment FAC allocation to state. What does that tell you? What that tells you is that whatever we are getting from oil will no longer suffice in the coming years. I think in about 5 or 10 years, with the growth in pursuit for renewable energy, oil will become more and more irrelevant, and it will mean that we will have to know determine for ourselves what we want to do with our oil.
All right, we have a caller here now. Let's attend to this caller. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, are you there? All right, we lost that call. Please call back 0809-155-1055, 0805-699-8678, and 07069493000. Those are the numbers in case you'd like to join the conversation. It is for you, the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let's talk about things that affect us as a people. Segun Elemo is still with me, the Executive Director, Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative. The 26 states that attracted zero investments in 2020. Oyo State is one of them. I'll come back to that in a moment. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome to Talking Points on Splash FM. What's the name, please?
My name is Oli from Dubai.
I didn't get the name.
Victor.
Okay, Victor, let's talk,
yeah.
Victor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, the presenter, and I really appreciate this speech because I've been looking at it like how the government Nigeria is transparent. You are talking about the window to open. I don't think the window is even open. Are you hearing me?
I'm here with you. Go ahead. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. When you are talking about the window to open, I don't know the window you are talking about. Are you telling me that the government are really on the budget and everything that you are giving out? No, now, when you are telling that one is giving 9 billion naira for vehicles only and giving the school, the institution that really need money, you are giving them 200 million. For in the budget that you spend to develop the state, the cars that have been passed in these ministries and other things, what are they using for? Pass a car for 20 years and at the end of the day, they don't use it for anything. So what are the usefulness of all those cars? find out that there is nothing, they are not useful for anything. Number two is that you book in 400 million naira for textbooks. What we all do that should not be more than 30 million naira to so. And you are booking in 400 million naira for what kind of business are you doing on it? What kind of customization are you telling that you are doing on it? The government should really come out and yes, it and they should be open with their budget, seriously, and they should try to amend this budget. You cannot just keep affecting the education system of the state.
Victor, thank you.
You cannot keep doing like this.
Thank you, Victor, for calling. Thank you for calling. Yeah. All right, so your point well made. We're talking about the 2021 budget a while ago. The government targets 70%. Okay, I was right. I was saying that the 2020 budget had an above average performance of 50.3%. So the target is 70%. That's good news. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Michael. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm Olushola Julius.
Olushola Julius, let's talk, sir.
Now, I want to appreciate your guest for the exposition is given to this budget issue, which is very, very thrilling. Now, Michael, is it only Oyo State that is a culprit in this matter? Now, even if you go to the federal government and you want to know how the budget of this year is going now, they will keep it in secrecy. It's not only Oyo State. Now, they will budget different things, and before we know what is happening, we are going the other way around. Honestly, let us look at it very well. I don't know how these politicians and these people are running our economy. They only come out and tell us the different side of the story, and on the long run, they are giving us a different thing. And honestly,
oh, sorry about that, Olushola Julius. Thank you for calling. Okay, so he talked about the fact that we should not isolate your state. You have seen the country. I follow you on social media, so I know that your Follow the Money project is national. Tell us about other states. You see, most of the time I remember we were talking one time on this program. We were talking OGP, and you were even saying that even Lagos State is absent in terms of OGP. Yeah. What exactly is going, particularly in the southwest of this country, we're so opaque?
I mean, the only state that has signed on to the OGP is Ekiti State. And even Ekiti State was still struggling with getting all the relevant fiscal documents out in public domain for citizens to be able to engage. See, the bottom line is clear. And it's not just, we're not isolating Oyo State. We're not just focusing on Oyo State. I think, like you said, we're doing a national work here. Just recently, we held a dialogue with, NNPC on NNPC and the subsidiaries. And we brought all the operators and industry regulators together to discuss issues about NNPC and the potential, well, not just a potential now, the investment in the Port Harcourt refinery, the $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion, yes. And you see, like I said, it's saddening. It's very saddening. From that $1.5 billion, NNPC will contribute $200 million. Dollars. Federal government will appropriate $800 million, and then the Afrexim Bank,
Afrexport Bank, yes,
will loan us $500 million. It will continue to burden our debt.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you Baba Yemi, right?
Yes, I am Baba Yemi from Makpata.
Welcome, sir.
I want to talk about the Oyo State government budget. You talk about the IGR. I think I have one observation that Oyo State government is making one mistake. If they can correct it, they will surpass that budget, especially the IGR. If you look at the land charges, they are sending to all the houses in Oyo State. Some of the bungalows are being charged up to 70,000, 60,000 or more. They should use marketing system. We call it skinny price policy. Let them start with small amount of money. They can increase gradually year by year. I tell you, if they can charge us 5,000 to 10,000 per houses in Oyo State, they will even surpass that budget. But that they are making a mistake, and I want to call on the governor to correct the mistake immediately. That is one. Then your guest in the house said one thing which I don't agree with him. He said the Supreme Court has not ruled on the matter. How can you expect your state government to now give information that is pending in the Supreme Court? It's not possible. Good afternoon, Michael.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayo Babayemi. You were talking about, the land use charge. I was studying that document. You see, the problem, my own big grudge with many people is that this land use charge, there's a law to back it up. I have seen the law. It's just about 16 pages or so or less. I've seen the law, and it's 2012 law. So in other words, even the government had been in breach of this law since 2012. They should have been charging this amount since 2012. It was signed into law by the Ajimobi government on the 12th of July 2012. And I have some items. I've written my note. I've studied the law. So I'm going to talk about that land use charge sometime soon. I have studied it. And you see, you should study some of these documents. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, brother. How are you?
I'm very fine.
Good afternoon. Sulaiman from Oluyole.
Yeah, welcome, Sulaiman.
Look, I just called and he mentioned about the fact that the Supreme Court has not judged on that case. That prevents it from releasing the information. This is the government that comes on the platform of being honest. That is the language they use. Why did they need to wait for Supreme Court before they open the door, before they open the office for everyone to see what is going on? How do they know what God says?
Sulaiman, I'd like you to call back. The network is clumsy.
My point here is a friend of mine told me during that primary election going on in the state southwest or whatever they are doing in Osho, and he told me that the other man is going to be. I couldn't have been out because I don't know anything about how they do this and deal. Only for me to wake up this morning, I heard that the man from Oyo State has won. Congratulations to me.
Sulaiman, I'll have to ask you to call back, please. The network is not good enough. It's not palatable for this conversation, okay? Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so the question that I would like to ask is, citizens need to, you see, Olushola Julius was saying the other time that, it's not only in Oyo State, but if you live in Oyo State, shouldn't you ask questions?
I mean, that's the whole essence of why we're here. Why are you concerned about what's happening in the federal when the local authorities have not even provided enough information to you? I think that's that. I think let's just bother about what bothers us. I think that's what is most important. Like I was saying earlier, we're not just limiting to Oyo State. We're questioning what's happening with the federal government. I mean, we have particularly spoken very loudly against the investment in the Port Harcourt refinery. That a refinery that could not generate 1.5 billion naira in 2 years, 2018 and 2019, after incurring, direct and operational cost of about 100 billion in those 2 years. The refinery could not generate 1.5 billion naira. Then you are investing $1.5 billion.
That's about 700 billion naira.
I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, I have a caller here. Hello, good afternoon.
Is it better now?
Yes, Sulaiman, it's good now. Good.
The point I was making is whatever happened in Osun State yesterday. Have we ever asked how much that will cost us as a state? Do we? Because I also heard from a very reliable source that it's probably partially part of what happened there yesterday. How much money was doled out there? Do we ask where that money come from? Why should we worry about what happened in the federal when we have not even asked what happened to us in state? I won't have any problem to even ask in state if my local government work the way it should. This problem, we should tackle it from the background. We should tackle it from, it's just like you want to go to US and you don't even have a passport. How do you do that? We need to ask our leaders, those that are representing us locally, we need to ask them what they are doing with our money. They need to leave that door open. We need to have access to it. We need to be able to go to the website and check how much money was budgeted for whatever, for one thing or the other. Look, we can't continue. If we continue like this, we just getting started. The only reason why the man from Oyo State won yesterday is because Oyo State did more than the other group. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
We don't need to deceive ourselves. Enjoying the show, bro.
Simon, you sound like someone who is very angry. But are you translating this anger to questioning those in leadership? So that's the kernel of this conversation, really.
Yes.
So what should citizens do in this matter?
It's very. I mean, I'm happy that their interest now is being stimulated, and we're getting the kind of energy. that active citizens should actually, should run with. Now, the point is, we need to start asking questions, and independently so. And you don't have to be a civil society organization, or as an individual, you have interest. It's your money here. For instance, the issue about the exercise book that we mentioned, spending 430 something million naira on a project that shouldn't cost more than 40 million. You have an interest. It's your money. If you're paying tax, if you are contributing to the value that is being generated in your state, it's your money. So you should ask questions, and you demand to be answered. So I think that is clear, and I think citizens should begin to now utilize that opportunity, or that window of opportunity, then to ask questions. And like I said, and I've always said, it's whether they answer or they respond or not, we will continue to ask questions. We will not stop asking. Like I mentioned earlier, we've written letters to the Commissioner for Budget and National Planning, to the Accountant General, to the Commissioner of Finance. They've not responded. We will continue on it. Okay. And all of those projects that we have highlighted from the 2021 budget, we will monitor it and see what is going on. Yes, it's commendable that the state government is putting money in infrastructure. Are you getting my point? It's commendable. And I see, we're not stupid people. When we see things that are good, we commend it. But when we see things that are ostrich,
you make more noise.
We will call it out.
When you don't,
do you understand? And for that person
positive,
who said that, because Supreme Court had not ruled on them.
You didn't attend to my question.
Which is?
I said that when things are fine, you make noise, but it's little noise.
Yeah.
But when things are not going fine, you make so much noise.
Because we are very concerned. You see, when things are going in the right direction, there's no cause for alarm. Everything is on course.
Okay.
But when a vehicle, for instance, moves, veers off the highway and tries to go into the bush, what do? You raise alarm.
Okay, Olusegun, I have to let you go. But before that, there's something I need to point out. Mr. Ayobaba Yemi talked about the land use charge.
Yeah.
We always talk about citizens asking questions. The rights of a citizen to ask questions also has a corresponding responsibility.
Exactly.
And that has to do with your obligations, payment of taxes, and the rest of it.
Exactly.
Let me show you something. I told you that I've studied the document. I'm going to talk about it sometime soon. But let me just give you something here, because I've met someone who said he will not pay. Let me show you something. There are, in section 19 of the land use law of Oyo State 2012, it says that if you refuse to comply to the assessors and you are convicted, you pay a fine of 100,000 naira or 3 months in prison, or both. If you incite people not to pay, it is the same fine. If you refuse to pay when due, a certain percentage is also added to your fine. So you understand that. So that when government begins to implement and enforce this law, it will not be wanting shaking it. It will be because you did not respond.
You see, let me tell you something. Government has a duty. You see, when people know how resources are being utilized, it's easy for them to comply with, paying their taxes and levies and the likes. But in a situation where government struggles to provide information on how it even utilizes that levy or those taxes, then what morality do you have to then ask people to pay? But I think those are the questions.
But it does not remove the responsibility and response of the citizens.
It doesn't. But what I'm saying is that it's mutual.
Okay.
It's mutual, and everybody should play their part.
Everybody should play their part. That is the sign-off for today. Olusegun Elemo, Executive Director, Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the job is done for today. After now, Ibadan news update at 4 o'clock, and after that, game on. M-Spice stepped into the building a second ago. Wow. So you need to stay on Facebook to understand my wow. All right. My name is Michael Olatunbosun. Please do everything within your power to make this nation better. And please do not dump refuse in the waterways. That's one of those ways to be a better citizen and a better Nigerian. Enjoy the rest of the day.